Hello everyone, welcome back to Magick Witchcraft Occultism. This is episode 12, part 3 on Dream Interpretation and Precognition. This episode is shorter than the rest of the episodes in the series, or the rest of the parts of the episodes in the series, I should say. Um, it's This is just a couple topics that don't really fit neatly with the other two, so I'm doing it as its own contained episode, or part of this episode. Now, before we begin, let's roll
What
the
is
intro.
magic? Magic is the hidden knowledge of the ages, just waiting to be discovered by those of us willing to dedicate decades of our lives to unlocking these ancient secrets. Let the lessons begin.
Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the little notification bell so you never miss an episode. I stop getting lost in YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate that. All right, let us begin. Now we move on to dream interpretation. Now, most of the time, your dreams are expressed through allegory and context. Allegory is a short story that represents a hidden meaning. That meaning can only be revealed through interpretation of your dreams. Allegoric dreams are the most common amongst all of your dreams. This kind of dream comes from the higher self and accounts for 80% or more of all of your dreams. Another type of dream will give you glimpses into the future. This is known as precognition. The lesser form of this is known as deja vu. And I'll go over greater detail of these two shortly. This kind of dream is the second most common amongst all of your dreams. This kind of dream comes from the superconscious mind. This kind of dream accounts for approximately 15% or less of your dreams. The rarest type of dream is a prophetic dream. There really is no interpretation needed, as these are usually very direct and very specific. This kind of dream is the least common amongst all of your dreams. This kind of dream comes from the universal consciousness. This kind of dream accounts for 5% or less of all of your dreams. Now as you see the percentage of your different types of dreams and how allegory only is an implied meaning in most of your dreams, combined with the understanding and significance of correspondence meanings and symbols and symbolism and symbolic characters, armed with the understanding on how to create your own dream key, you should feel free to start with the dream key that I already gave you, which you will slowly extend and refine on your own over time. If you dreamed you were shot in the heart and you fell to the ground dead, you might think you're going to die in a gunfight or a drive-by shooting or a bar fight and be shot in the heart and die in the near future. And if you live a very dangerous lifestyle, this could be an example of precognition. The more likely interpretation is going to go something like this. If you're a person that was, let's say, shot in the heart and you died, and maybe you're in a relationship and you may be in love with the other person in the dream, you might be having a conflict between the two of you. The gun might represent a threat to you. That may not be a physical threat. Instead, it could be an emotional threat. Being shot in the heart may represent an emotional pain you may be suffering in the future, and the death may represent the death of a relationship and not you personally, or it could be you holding the gun and putting the control of ending the relationship in your hands instead. Keep in mind this is only an example, and remember one of the very first things I said to you in the very beginning of this series. Only you can really interpret your own dreams. Also remember, context is everything in a dream. It's really important to keep the idea with your symbolism and the context. They go hand in hand to figure out what your dream means and how it applies to your daily life. Now we move on to precognition. I'd like to mention that precognition, it has a few different references associated with it. Most common is when a person is either asleep and dreaming, or when a person is in a trance, or which is similar to a dreamlike state. And an uncommon form of precognition is when a person is in deep meditation and achieves a vision of the future. The absolute rarest form of precognition is a waking vision. The only examples that really exist of this are in the biblical record, just to show you how incredibly rare a waking vision of the future actually is. And this is closely connected to the universal consciousness, as it's similar to a prophetic dream, except that you're awake for it. Moving on. The way you can tell a normal dream apart from a dream of precognition is either the entire dream or at least a portion of the dream is based solely in reality. There's usually a place you know or have seen or is at least vaguely recognizable to a person in some way. Usually, but not exclusively, with people that you know or at least have some vague recollection of, and for all intents and purposes, the dream appears to be based in reality as far as you can tell. Dreams of precognition come from the superconscious mind. An abstract dream comes from the higher self. An example of that would be you might be having a tea party with a panda bear while he's serving you Oreo cookies at the base of a volcano. This type of dream is nearly completely allegory, and allegoric dreams are the easiest to fade and the easiest to forget. Now, the hallmark of a dream that is precognition goes something similar to this. You will usually remember at least 3 out of the 6. You should remember either the who, the what, the where, the how, the when, or the why. It's unlikely that you will remember all 6 of them, and you can remember 2 out of the 6, so you can remember 4 out of 6. It's not guaranteed to be 3. Example, you may remember who the dream was about, you may remember what was going to happen in a dream, and you may remember when something was going to happen, but you may not remember the reason why something occurred, or how something transpired, or where something was going to resolve itself. Instead, you can have an amalgamation of these 6. Either way, you will wake up and remember exactly what you dreamed of with roughly crystal clear clarity that will usually last on average 1 to 3 days. The average by then is more often than not whatever you dreamt of precognition is either about to happen or will happen in the next day or so. And then you'll start to forget this after that time period. Now, the reason why is generally these dreams of the future are going to take place within that day of waking up or within 2 or 3 days. And that's the general gist. That's usually not going to be weeks or months into the future. It's usually something that's very current that just struck you. And like, I have to call somebody and let them know. And if you're a dabbler or a novice, this will be like one of the first things that strikes you as proof that magic is real. Since magic is highly subjective, just like religion is. So whatever you need for proof, you may or may not find this way. And lastly, we move on to Deja Vu. First, I think it'd be helpful to explain what Deja Vu is in the first place. When Deja Vu occurs, it's when a memory enters into your long-term memory before your short-term memory. When this occurs in your dream, it will be of a very specific moment in the future that will generally not make sense in cohesion with the rest of the dream. When you do remember the future event from the past in the present moment, it will come very quickly, and you will have little to no time to react. When this does occur, try to change something very small. Try to snap your fingers, clap your hands, knock on wood. And over a course of years, you'll be able to build up the ability to recognize deja vu is occurring instead of occurred. This is mostly helpful if something hostile happens that could easily cause you some serious bodily harm, such as something heavy falling on you, or being in a car accident and getting T-boned, or maybe getting sucker punched, something like this. You can then react and then change your personal future. Now, mages will commonly experience this, but to a lesser extent, anyone can experience this because it lends itself to the influence of the superconscious mind for those not of the great tree of sorcery. Now, as I said before, deja vu and precognition are both allowing you to glimpse the future. The major difference between them is precognition is when you dream of it, you will wake up and remember the glimpse of the future. With deja vu, you might remember the dream, but it won't have any context, and it can easily be forgotten right up until the future moment that comes and occurs, and then you realize you dreamt of the future. That's the major difference between what is generally considered precognition and deja vu. Now, on a personal note, As it relates to Deja Vu, over time, I've been able to build up a reserve of 15 to 20 seconds, which is more than enough time to react to any situation. And that may not seem like a lot, but it's more than enough time to slam on the brakes or move out of the way or realize something bad is about to happen to you. This simple skill has taken me over 20 years of practice. This is simply to illustrate that it can be done, but will take you time, a long time, many years of practice. So it has its uses, but it's not the thing where you're going to use to try to find the lottery numbers. It's meant to be like a sixth sense of reaction time. That's the end of this episode, everyone. Now, the next episode will be on prophetic dreams, and that episode, or that part of episode 12, will be longer than this one. So this one was a reasonably quick episode. So, as always, I wish you the very best of luck with your research, and go in peace.